Hey, what's up guys? It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. We have the very early leaks for this week's chapter of Black Clover, chapter 339, and it looks like in this week's chapter, we're going to be diving into Asta's training with the first of the Ryuzen 7, Ichika, aka Yami's younger sister, on, I guess, how to manipulate ki. Now, unfortunately, we don't actually have a summary for this week's chapter, but because the chapter came out very early, we do actually have pretty much the entire chapter already out page-wise, and the people who usually leak out the chapters each week already have pretty much the entire chapter translated. I mean, there are like, I think 1 or 2 pages missing from this chapter, so we don't have the full context, but we pretty much have enough information to do a whole review of the chapter. Anyway, jumping into the leaks, it looks like this chapter is going to open up with the ending of the last chapter, with Ichika grabbing Asta by the head, and it looks like this scene is going to basically serve two purposes. One is going to indicate to us that Ichika does not like Yami, which makes sense when you think about it. I mean, Ichika is a very serious character, as far as we can tell so far, and Yami is very laid back, even in the most dire situations, so it would make sense that Ichika probably wouldn't gel well with him when the two of them are around each other. And on top of that, you gotta imagine that he has been missing for 13 years, so whatever family responsibilities Yami might have had, most likely got passed on to her, and she probably resents him for that. In fact, for all we know, being a member of the Ryuzen 7 is something that's probably passed down from her family from each generation, and Yami was probably supposed to inherit it, but because he went missing, she had to take up the title. And the other thing that this opening scene is going to do is give us a little bit more information about the people that live in the Land of the Sun, because one thing they automatically notice about Asta is the fact that his hair color is different from theirs, so he must be a foreigner. And this is when it clicked in my head that every single person that we've seen so far in the Land of the Sun all have black hair. So I'm guessing that's actually a trait of people from this country, that they are all born with black hair, so anyone who has a different hair color is automatically revealed to be a foreigner. And then after that, we transition to this house with a bunch of flying fish in it. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that. As far as I can tell, there's no context to why the fish are flying around so freely like this. But we end up meeting this brand new character named Fumito, who we end up finding out is actually the person who ended up healing Asta and Leave this entire time. And we actually get this moment where we get to see Asta and Leave reunite, and we see exactly how excited Asta is about Leave being healed up and not dead, and Leave is just very nonchalant about the entire thing. But our favorite Chibi Devil does admit that he was just a little bit lonely being away from Asta. Now, one thing that's really interesting in the scene where the two of them are reuniting is that we get to see that Leave actually has the same scar on his chest that Asta does. And I'm not entirely sure if that's because when the two of them are in their double union, any damage that gets done to Asta's body also transfers to Leave as well, or if that's because Lucius's soul magic actually affected Leave when he attacked Asta. Then, after we meet Fumito and we see Asta and Lee reunite, we cut over to the scene where everyone's having a meal, and this is why I say it looks like there's like 1 or 2 pages missing from these translations, because during the scene, we see Asta really start to panic and like hyperventilate, and he's really worried about getting back to the Clover Kingdom. And we get this inner monologue from him where he's basically blaming himself for being too weak to protect Sister Lily, and he's basically saying that he's never going to be strong again. And we really see that Asta's down on himself more than we ever seen him before in this entire series. I mean, Asta is the character that usually picks everyone else up, and we pretty much at this point expect him to be able to bounce back from everything. I mean, hell, even back after fighting Veto when he lost the ability to use his arms, he said, fuck it, if I can't use my arms, I'll use my mouth to hold the sword and fight that way. So it's kind of hard seeing that character that usually is the one that's uplifting everyone else to be this hard on himself and this down in the dumps. But Ichika, showing that she truly is Yami's sister, just goes up and hits him and tells him to basically get over it. And I mean, there's a little bit more dialogue that she tells him in this chapter, but it really seems like we're missing a page here because it seems like the dialogue just kind of ends during her monologue and there's no real resolution to it. The only thing I can really grab from what we have in the translated pages that we have so far is that she's basically telling him that he owes his life to Ryu and Fumito. And then, again showing us that we're definitely missing a few pages in this translation, we cut over to them in this like bamboo forest, and we end up seeing Ichika show Asta an example of how she uses her ki to manipulate her Yorioku. And we see her using her hand to do the slashing move, and we see her actually shoot dark energy out in a slashing formation at one of the bamboo sticks. Now, what's actually really cool about this is that her slashing technique in this chapter looks exactly like all of Yami's techniques that he's used throughout the entire series. Which really has me wondering, have almost all of Yami's attacks throughout this entire series actually been him using this ki manipulation ability this entire time? Because if that is the case, then one, there goes one of my theories on how Yami's going to get a major power up in this arc, and two, why the hell hasn't he taught Asta this beforehand? And then after watching Ichika do it, Ryu tells Asta to try it himself, but he doesn't think he'll be able to do it because he doesn't have any mana. But Ryu basically tells him it's all about letting the ki in his body flow throughout him and manipulate the energy inside of it. And when Asta tries to do it, he basically does the same slicing motion at his bamboo stick, the same one that Ichika did too. And at first, nothing happens. And then out of nowhere, the bamboo splits in two, and we get to see everyone's shocked reaction from this. And this is when we end up finding out from Ryu that apparently the bamboo he just sliced at actually grows and fused with Yurioku, which means the nether withers, but Asta's actually able to wither it all the way down the middle from the top to the bottom, which means that he actually was successful in using his ki to manipulate his anti-magic to attack from a distance without using one of his swords. This is when we get to see Asta do a complete 180 from earlier in the chapter when he was down on himself, and we see that he is basically just full life now, and he's very thankful, and he's actually saying to Ichika, "You are now giving me the brand new hope that I actually can be strong again." And yeah, the chapter ends with her still glaring at him and Asta asking her to continue training him. And I'm really digging what happens in this chapter. I'm actually looking forward to seeing exactly what he ends up learning not only from her, but the other members of the Ryuzen 7, because now he has the ability to manipulate his ki to shoot out anti-magic without having to rely on his swords or his Devil Union. So if he's learning this already, and this is just for the first of the Ryuzen 7, just imagine what he's going to learn from the other 6 members. Anyway, that is it for the video, guys. I'm extremely excited to see exactly what Asta is going to end up learning from all the members of Ryuzen 7 and how uber strong he's going to be by the time he goes back to the Clover Kingdom. And yeah, man, I can't say anything else. I'm just very excited by the aspect of this training. Anyway, that is it for the video. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.